Just before this episode starts, if you enjoyed the Leg It podcast, we produce 4 exclusive bonus episodes per month for our private members club on patreon.com. For the price of £1 a week, that's just £4 a month, the price of a beer or a fancy coffee. We produce these bonus episodes that have special guests on, various topics, and there's also merchandise offers and various bonuses you can have, competitions, all kinds. Get over there, support us, support the podcast by giving just £1 a week. Link is below.
This episode of the podcast is kindly sponsored by Feel Supreme. Feel Supreme have been sponsoring the podcast for a number of weeks now. They're an incredible company. They've got the most diverse range of supplements. I've got some here, the CBD, which I've been taking, which is brilliant. The mushroom extract as well, which I've been taking once a day. They've got vitamin D3, vitamin C, a huge range of different health supplements, and you can get 10% off if you go to the code below, go to the link below, which is feelsupreme.co.uk/legit, and you get 10% off by clicking through and going through their website through that link below. Please support them. They've been a huge support of the podcast. They've got the most incredible products that I take daily, myself and Andy take daily as well. So anything you can do to support them ultimately supports us. Everything CBD, vitamin D3, vitamin C, which is obviously vitamin D3 massive at the moment, and vitamin C obviously really important for immune support. So go to the link below, click through, and you'll get 10% off your order. Radio, it's the Leg It podcast with myself, Tom Wickstead.
It's me, Andy Grant, and this week we've got Connor Smith.
Hello, nice one for having me.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I first heard about your story, I think it was September when I was doing my little research about you. I think it was September you done that video, wasn't it, in your car? And basically, so I think I got tagged in it a couple of times and people had messaged me a few times and going, you need to speak to this lad.
Yeah.
So I watched this video, I think I sent it to you, Tom, as well. And it was just you, wasn't it, sitting in your car, sharing with people your story and basically saying that you wanted to share your story a bit more. You wasn't sure whether to go on a podcast, write a blog or anything like that. So immediately me and Tom are all about meeting new people, finding out new things and learning a bit. And someone with your background, I certainly don't know anyone with the conditions you.
No.
So we've been trying to get it done for a while, haven't we?
Yeah.
Dates, trying to figure it out, and I'm finally here, mate. So I'm made up here to share with us your story.
No, I'm massive appreciative that you're having me here as well. It's mad for me because I listen to it anyway. I'd subscribe to the Patreon and that, and I have done for ages.
Oh, nice one.
Oh, legend, nice one.
See, Connor's doing it. Get subscribed to Patreon. It's £1.
My mum was one of them as well. I tagged you in the video.
Was she? Yeah,
so she's made up that.
Yeah, there was a few, I think, because I log into the Instagram thing. I think quite a number of people had forwarded that video to us as well.
It went quite big, as in thousands and thousands watched it.
For people who don't know what that video was, just give a bit of a...
So what it was me in Sainsbury's car park in Old Swan with my phone in the car and just talking at it basically. I think it took me about 30 odd goes to do what I was happy with, and then in the end I just had to get it done. But yeah, just sort of speaking about me and the route and the message what I wanted to put out there and where I wanted to go with it. Because like I speak about, I've had this condition now, which is cystic fibrosis for forever, but I've never really been fully conscious or took much notice of how it may impact people or motivate or inspire through just doing what I'm doing, because this is just, it's all I know, it's my life. So to hear that it might motivate people is still a bit mad to me, because I don't see it as anything special. But I think there's been like a series of things over the past 18 months, 2 years or so, where I've thought that maybe it's time to, it all fell into place, and it's time to start pushing it out there a little bit more.
It's good, mate, because again, without taking it off you, but just where I can relate a little bit, I used to think that myself, like, I love running. Whether I had 2 legs or 1 leg, I love running. So then when people were going, oh, it's so inspiring seeing you run, I'm like, fuck off, I like running just like you do, as you're just living your life normally. And people are going, oh, you're so inspiring. You're like, well, I'm just fucking doing what you're doing. So it can be hard, can't it, to think, actually, I can use this as a way to inspire.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's good that you've realised that you are, in this great position, that you can give back.
Them sort of things in like the least egotistical way possible. Like, I've heard that for the whole of my life. Like, what I'm doing is it's inspiring, it's amazing, it's motivational, whatever, every buzzword under the sun. And I think I've sort of like grown a little bit immune to it then, because again, I don't see it as anything special. But if I can use it in the way that I'm doing now, and like I know from personal experience now over the past few months, it's been impacting people in the right way, then it's I think I'm onto something good, and just going to keep the ball rolling with it as well.
Well, straight away, mate, you've got two people here who know fuck all about it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we're going to learn a thing or two.
Mate, I was on that point as well. I was just going to say, like, cystic fibrosis, certainly in my like very really limited experience.
You're clever as, come on.
Yeah, but I always say, like, I have this. It's a bit like these buzzwords, not buzzwords. Sorry, it's a wrong phrase. But it's like these other diseases that you hear, like MS and a few other things. You only associate. Like, I only associate cystic fibrosis with people who are like 60, 70 years old, not the age that you are. Do you know what I mean? That's all I know. That's pretty much all I know about it. I don't know what it is specifically. So, I mean, the question I think I'm trying to get to is, what is it?
So it's a condition that's caused by a faulty gene. So it's inherited, it's genetic. And what it does, it essentially causes a build-up of thick, sticky mucus throughout the body. And that's caused because so inside my cells, I have what's called CFTR proteins, which stands for Cystic Fibrosis Transmembrane Conductor Regulator. And my cell walls are blocked. They don't let any water or sodium in and out. So there's no movement there. And then they don't let them proteins out either. So everyone has got a copy of the cystic fibrosis gene, but only 1 in 25, I think, have a faulty version of the gene. And then for that to be passed down, 2 carriers of the faulty version have to meet, and then there's a 1 in 4 chance of their child having cystic fibrosis.
Oh, wow.
I think it affects around 10,000 people in the UK.
So which is like, that's so rare. If you think 60 million people, like, that's
Yeah, I was going to say, is that like a lot compared to some other diseases, is it? Or
I don't know, it's tough to say, really. I don't know.
But when you say 1 in 25, you think, fucking hell, that's quite a lot, isn't it? 1 in 25. Yeah. But then within that 1 in 25, then there's the 1 in 4 that it meets together, and then So
the 1 in 25, that one person has also got to meet another 1 in 25 person.
Right.
And then
yeah, so the chances are slim, really.
The chances are slim, yeah. And then, like I was saying before, so my cells are blocked. They don't let water or sodium or these CFTR proteins in and out. Whereas the average person, their cells are able to do that. So then that causes an imbalance in the body. It causes my systems, my immune system, my digestive system, everything to not function at 100% as it should. And then again, that causes a build-up of thick, sticky mucus, which surrounds basically everything: lungs, pancreas, again, digestive system, everything in the body, really.
It sounds stupid, but you know the 1 in 25. Do you know? So your mum and dad, did they know that they had a faulty gene? The 1 in 25?
No.
Is there a way of testing that?
Yeah, there's you can just have it used to be a sweat test. It probably still is a sweat test, but now when the babies are born, they have like a heel prick test.
Okay.
You can find out there, but I think you can find out through your sweat or your saliva.
I wonder if that's a thing where people like Tom, you've just got a little baby now. I wonder, do people get tested if they're thinking about going down the route of having children? Do people get tested and say, oh, maybe should we check we have the gene? Is that something that people do?
Most likely, yeah. I mean, people they can find out if the baby's of full health of up to a certain point. But as far as like when I was born, my mum and dad, they had no clue. They'd never even heard of it. Like a lot of people. My dad's asthmatic, so at first he thought it was that. But then through like the sweat test, so with the sweat test, they measure the amount of salt in your sweat, and I think the level is 70, whatever 70 is. I don't know how you measure that, but anything over 70 is diagnosed as CF, as cystic fibrosis. So then they obviously found out it was that. But yeah, it was like this big new thing to them.
And when did they find out then? So obviously you're born and you're not functioning maybe as other babies would, I guess.
6 months, I think it was. 6 months old. Like I say, they thought it was asthma at first, and then more tests, and it sort of like snowballed, and then it turned out it was that.
It's funny, isn't it? Because if you said before you've always lived with it, and I've just pulled up something here, and then it says, I mean, the end line of it says that people with the condition tend to have a shorter than normal lifespan, which in itself is pretty scary, I think, isn't it? But if you've always lived with it, then it means it's not suddenly you've got cancer and then it's it's always been there. Yeah, so there's just no different, is there?
Yeah, I mean, some people, it's not rare for people to be diagnosed later on in life as well. So 18, 20, 25, 30 years old, you can still get diagnosed at that stage. I don't know what the process is behind that, whether it's the faulty gene lying dormant and then it suddenly becomes active. Or
that's weird, isn't it? You would have thought it's something you'd have all along and you'd know about it.
But on the life expectancy, that's something that I've never ever looked into, just because I've never wanted to because I think if you're looking at stuff like that, you're sort of setting yourself a goal. So if you find out that the average life expectancy, I couldn't even tell you what it is, it may be early 40s, but if you find that number out, then you're automatically going to try and, even subconsciously, you're going to try and live to that, and then that'll be your target then. Whereas I've got no number in my head, I just want to push as much as I can and get as much done while I'm here.
And if you see case studies of again, I don't want to darken the conversation, but if you see case studies of people who, late 20s or early 30s, then you start comparing, don't you? Thinking shit, and
that was a great analogy how you put it though. How often have you had a goal? I've done it loads of times where I've set myself a goal, and when I get to it, I think, it's done now.
Yeah.
So if you kind of set yourself, I want to live to this age, if you get to that, then it's like when people retire, don't they? And they stop being busy, and then all of a sudden they've got no goal anymore, and they fucking retire at 50 and they're dead 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it's so much when people stop working, and then within a couple of years they're not here anymore.
Yeah, it is.
So what's the probably more applicable to Tom, this question as well, but how old's Lily now, Tom?
She's 3.5 months.
Wait, what's it like for your parents? I'm sure you spoke to them. Dealing with a baby is tough enough anyway, as Tom constantly rings me and moans about.
Fucking Jesus.
But I mean, that must be pretty scary with the kind of mucus and the build-up, and I mean, I wouldn't even know what it's like, but for a baby as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, babies can't tell you what's wrong or how they're feeling or nothing, so it must have been a massive thing for them, especially like you're talking 26 years ago now, so it wasn't as, they weren't aware of it, it wasn't as spoken about as much. They had me a little bit younger as well, so on top of everything, it must have been fucking hard for them, scary, but they, even going up through younger years and then into my later years, they've never held me back from, it could have been just as easy as it is for any parent to wrap the kids in cotton wool and not want them to do anything that they don't want them to do, but they've sort of just let me run wild, really, which has been the best thing for me, and just, I think that's why I'm the way I am now, because I've never been treated any different. Obviously, they always look out for me, whether it comes to treatments or putting my best interest first, but I've always just cracked on.
I guess you wouldn't want to grow up, would you, kind of being told that, your mates are going to do something, and then your mum and dad are constantly saying, oh no, we don't want you doing that, or it'd be best you didn't.
Yeah.
But were they worried in the fact that were they worried because, I'm just trying to think, for example, at the moment we've got obviously COVID's around, so that would obviously, your immune system isn't as potentially as good as either myself or Andy or anyone, without cystic fibrosis. But were they worried in the fact that, of your health, or because it's not the same as I'm worried about you hanging around with other people? What were they worried about then? I'm
guessing just the whole deal with it, really. It affects a lot. It does, like you mentioned, the immune system. It affects basically every system that the body has. So I think just my overall health it must have been a big concern to them. And I think I was aware myself that I was, inverted commas, different. I was out of school a lot of appointments or hospital stays. The first couple of years of my life I was in hospital for the majority of that. Obviously I can't really remember that, but again, going through stuff like that, it just became a norm to me. And then, I know you've spoke about it in the past, when obviously not on your level, but when you go through hard times or adversity or whatever it may be, then that makes other little trivial stuff seem nowhere near as bad as some other people may feel.
Mate, listen, yeah, mine's crazy, but what you've been through your whole life, mate, it's take me out off to you, mate. Yeah. I had a couple of years of shit, you know, you've mate, so fair play to you, mate. It's great that you're here smiling, talking about it now, mate. So, but at what age then did you kind of know then that you were, like you say, there was something not quite right with you? Is there an age where you can remember going into hospital, or you thought, you know, none of my mates are going into hospital all the time, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I called with one of my mates from primary school I haven't seen for a few years, and we were talking about like me posts and stuff what I've been putting out, and he was saying like we always knew that there was something wrong because you were like out of class going to appointments and whatever, but I never seemed unhealthy at the same time. And I think the same goes for me really. Again, I was aware that I had something that other kids didn't. You know, so when I eat, my digestive system, it can't break down the fats by itself. So I have to have between 12 to 14 tablets with every meal. To help
really?
Yeah.
Every single day, yeah?
Yeah. So every time I eat, depending on the fat content in the foods, I'll have 6, 8 or with a full meal, like for me tea, I'll have between 12 and 14 tablets. So when you know, it was like lunchtime in primary school, and then I'd go to the teacher's office and to get me water, and they give me tablets. Obviously none of my mates were doing that. So again, I was fully aware of it, but it was just, I think, like you said before, because I'd just been used to it forever. It was just another part of my life, yeah.
That's hard, that is. Every single meal, 12 to 14 tablets.
It does sound, I can do them all in one go. I've had plenty of practice, like, and it's funny because with like so I've got like following and speaking to all these different accounts now. We've got kids with cystic fibrosis and stuff, and we're always back and forth giving tips and stuff. And then one put a video on the other day of a little lad taking tablets, and he's like, I think he's 6 or 7, and he's the same, just a handful, just knocks them back with a glass of water and they're gone. I think it's a special talent, like, to have.
Yeah. And that just breaks down the fat within the food. So if you, I don't know if you do, I imagine you eat pretty healthy, but say, for example, you had a takeaway, right? I don't know, let's say you went for McDonald's for argument's sake. You then have to look within that packaging and think how much fat is in that. Does that depend on, like...
In theory, yeah, but I think I'm at a point now where I've been doing it for so long, I sort of know how to gauge it just by what I'm eating. So if I have, let's say I have a takeaway then, and I know through years and years of like trial and error with the amount of tablets that I'm taking, I'll know that if I take 16, that'll be too much for me, and it'll upset my stomach. It'll like, you know, it's not nice, but it'll bung me up. I won't be able to do anything with that. And the opposite end of the scale, if I take too less, I'll have a bad time on the toilet the next day. So I've sort of got to a point now where I know, just through the foods, what I'm eating, how many to take. So like last night I made a chickpea sweet potato and spinach curry, and I roughly knew the fat what was in that, so I had 12 with that, with some rice and bread. But then again, if I have, let's say, a salad, there's no fat in, well, hardly any fat in that, so I'll have a couple at most.
That's mad, like the dedication that's got to go in now to you just eating your breakfast.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think to other people it would seem like a big thing to always be like trying to be on the ball with that. And don't get me wrong, I might have been doing it 26 years, but sometimes I don't do it. I just forget to take them like everything else. But then I'll know about it the next day when I'm on the toilet.
You know what I love, mate, and I feel already like kind of bond with you just because people who've been through a bit of mad lives or adversity, and I don't know, I've always got this like weird humour about stuff, and it just reminds me of a story of I've got a good friend who's I want to get him on the pod one day, Alex. He's a great lad, and he's paralysed. I don't know how far down. Anyway, he has to put a catheter in the end of his knob every time he wants to piss, and so I go on the ale with him. Like we were out skiing, and he's on the piss, and we're out for a piss. We're out on the piss, and it's a bit like you. He knows how much he needs to drink, and then he needs to go and empty his bladder. So like I'm on like my 3rd or 4th pint, and he's like right in his wheelchair, goes off the bog, and you know he's had 3 or 4 pints, so you start to, and he's just opening his fucking bell end up and just firing his straw down his fucking bell end, filling up a bag, and then he's like, right, come on, let's go, and he's back on it, and I'm like, everyone else is in the club trying to, like, you know, chat to girls or do this or do that, and I'm just with this lad who every 3 or 4 pints is just going the bog and throwing a tube down his knob. And I just think there's humour in, like, the adversity around, like, you know, problems that we all face. Well, not all of us, but I think when people do face problems in life, there can be great humour that can come from that.
Definitely. You need a laugh or cry, can't you? I think humour is, like, massive in any type of adversity. Or because if you don't, like I say, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and you'll only go one way then. Downhill. So I think it's the best way to be, definitely.
Is there anything that you can take, like, if like experimental things like CBD or cannabis, or is there anything like that can help? Because I know cannabis has been used for people. I know it's not cystic fibrosis, but MS and a few other things that people can use.
I've got a long list of, like, natural supplements that I take, CBD being one of them, and this is one of the main reasons I'm putting myself out there at the minute, because I feel that I'm so healthy and in such good condition at the minute because of the way I eat, the way I train, the natural stuff that I take alongside the pharmaceutical drugs that I take as well. And I think it's so important not to just rely and turn straight to that pharmaceutical route, because as we all know, stuff like antibiotics and different medications, they have negative effects. The longer you take them, the longer you're on. So growing up as a kid and stuff, so I've got it's just like, it looks like a little lump under my skin here. It's like a little valve. It's called a portacath. So when my chest infections get really bad and I'm struggling, I can't, like, shift them myself, and all the mucus is building up too much, I go into hospital for a 2-week stay, and so I'll get a needle in that, and then 3 courses of antibiotics are put into me a day over the 2-week period, and that'll just, like, completely clear everything up, and then I'll be fine again after that.
How often do you have to do that?
Right now, it's very rare that I go in, so I haven't had a hospital stay for, like, over 12 months now. And that's just through keeping myself in as good condition as I can. But as a kid, you usually have them. I don't know what it's like now, because obviously I've been out of Alder for, like, over 10 years now. When I was there, it was every 3 months routine. You go in and have your IVs.
Every 3 months you'd go in for 2 weeks?
Yeah, you can. Like, my mum was trained at home as well, so she could do them home IVs. So then that'd eliminate the need for going in to stay into hospital, because obviously, like I said about school and stuff, you'd be missing time. You'd have time off, and it wouldn't be good. So when I was having them at home, I was still able to go into school. I was still able to go out with my mates and stuff like that. But yeah, every 3 months, like I say, I don't know what it's like now, but later in life, that like routine, it'll have negative effects, because you become immune to them antibiotics then, and you start breaking stuff down in your body. But when you get to the adult hospital, it's usually you don't have them until you need them, unless you want to stay on that 3-month thing. And I think then obviously yourself, if you want to be, then you start becoming more aware to what sort of drugs you're taking, what medications you're on, and what they're actually doing. So yeah, over the past, say, 3 or 4 years, I've really, like, focused on the more natural route. You know, taking, for example, turmeric, black pepper and ginger tablets of a morning.
I've heard about I've heard good things about them.
You post a lot about, is it turmeric? How do you say it?
I think it's turmeric.
Turmeric, is it?
Turmeric or turmeric, yeah. But they're, like, amazing for inflammation, and that's one of the massive things that CF causes, inflammation in the lungs and in the joints.
And how did you come across that? Just your own research, was it?
Yeah. Me and my girlfriend Sarah, we've been together a while now, and she's going to uni to study nutrition. So she's like my own personal nutritionist. So she's like, have this, stop that. So yeah, we've worked on my diet, especially has been a massive one. We've worked on that over, like, the past 3 or 4 years. Eliminated.
Go on. I was about to say, what you're cutting out, or what you
out dairy about 2 years ago.
I've heard loads of people say that, just obviously, and people without your condition.
Yeah, it's massive for mucus production and inflammation again.
Man, I drink so much milk, you know.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, but coffee, everything.
That was me. I was exactly the same. I'd open the fridge, no matter what I was going in there for. I'd open the fridge and pour a glass of milk. But I gave that up like that, just because there's so many alternatives out there now. Like, oat milk's lovely on your cereal or in your cup of tea. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but after a while it's nice, and I don't miss it at all. And
Same with cheese then, no
Same with
cheese?
cheese, yeah. I used to like nail pizza all the time, load it, like cheese on toast, anything. And now I just don't miss it at all. I think because I know the negative effects that it was having on me and on my digestive system and stuff. And then after it, like a couple of months after it, what I thought was the CF, it was the dairy what was making me feel that way. Just felt like a lot clearer and better for it.
What about the CBD then? So, because shout out to Phil Supreme behind us, 500 milligram of CBD. What? When did you start taking CBD? Because I've heard so many good things about CBD, sleep, anxiety, everything.
About same time, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the main timeline where everything started shifting for me. Because I was going through this like cycle of being okay, and then my lung function would fall. So with CF, your condition is measured, like the condition you're in is measured on your lung capacity, so a percentage. So the average, like a healthy person is like between 100 and 120 or 130%. I usually sit around like the mid 60s. So I'd be in like...
So it's like half then,
yeah? So half basically, yeah. So I'd be in this like cycle of 65%, and then I'd fall until I was at like 56, 57, I'd be quite bad. And then I'd go into hospital, have my IVs, and then I'd be fine for 4 or 5 months, and then it's like this horrible cycle. And it was down to a lot of things. It was down to me, like what I was doing for my job. I was a site engineer, so I was working on construction sites. Wasn't a good environment for me to be in. The foods I was eating. I've always like trained and went to gym, but wasn't doing anything which suited me. Like the best style of training for me, I was just going to gym and trying to lift weights. Pretty clueless. But yeah, now I've sort of got my own little routine going now where I'm training like CrossFit and functional stuff 3-4 times a week. I'm running, I'm cycling, yoga, swimming when I can, obviously when everything's open. And then the diet side of it, dairy, cut that out, cut red meat out, because obviously
red meat as well.
Yeah, even for the average person to digest red meat is hard work anyway. It's in there for a long time once you've ate it. So for someone with someone whose digestive system doesn't function fully, it doesn't really make sense to be eating that.
Getting a feeling this is going to be like Lisa. We had Lisa Gorto. I don't know if you listen to her one. She's a vegan, but she's like superstar athlete as well, and she's got her own vegan company. And she spoke to us about foods. And I come out of there going, fucking hell, I don't want to eat this anymore, I don't want to eat that.
Wait, she gave us a load of stuff, didn't she?
Yeah, it's good, really good stuff.
Yeah. But the thing, then you cut out red meat, but then I don't know if you know Jordan Peterson, he went through it, the clinical psychologist, people know him from the book 12 Rules for Life, but he got really ill, and I can't remember the reason why, and he started a carnivore diet, which was, I think, all red meat. There's the only thing you eat is red meat. So it's like, it's so conflicting, isn't it? Like all this, like, there's so much stuff you hear around the red meat dairy and like,
I mean, stuff like that. It's not everyone's body is the same. You know, whether it like factually it is worse off for you, or it actually does benefit you. I think that comes down to the person who's eating it. And I found for me that cutting it out was the best way to go. So now when I'm speaking to people, and put a video on last night on my Instagram saying that if you're wanting to make a change and live a little bit better, don't try and follow a single person's plan like for like, because it's not going to work. It's not sustainable. You need to just spend time and invest time into yourself to find what works best for you. And that's the journey when I'm on now, and I'm still chopping and changing stuff, taking stuff out, adding new stuff in. And I think it's all about just finding what works best for you. And I'm at the point now where I think I've got it going good at the minute, and I want to share and put that advice out there that people can take what they want from it.
You say your journey, was there a particular point where, I know you mentioned about your health to deteriorate, but was there a particular point where you were like, fuck, I need to do something about this, in the sense of like, I don't know, you might have had to take away, went on a bender, or you'd done something, you're not looking after your health, you felt really shit, you've got an hospital, and you've thought, right, that's it, I need to start really knuckling down now? A bit of a light bulb moment, if you like.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there was one moment in particular, but I've always sort of been like health conscious, and obviously aware what stuff does to my body, and it's not nice when when I'm not well and I'm in hospital. It's not like the hospital itself is boss, do you know what I mean? In Borough Green and unbelievable. Like we've got the CFs, we've got our own ward, we've got our own rooms, you have a telly, Wi-Fi, you've got your own chef because you're supposed to have a high-fat, high-calorie diet. So you just literally tell him what you want every day and he'll cook you it. So it's like a little hotel. So and I don't begrudge going into hospital at all, or the nurse is a boss, but at the same time it's just not somewhere where I want to be.
No.
So I sort of gauged how good I felt, obviously, when I was healthy versus how bad I felt when I was in there and when I knew I was unwell. And it wasn't hard to choose between the two, what I want to be. So just stepped everything up, like I said, researched into myself more, really started thinking about like the foods, what I am eating, how do I feel after that, or how do I feel a couple of days after that.
I guess with that, mate, as well, it takes, and I'm like the least foodie person ever, but I guess it takes a lot of dedication, because it's one of those, you can't just stop taking everything at once because you don't know what's causing it. Yeah. It's a bit of trial and error, isn't it? You know, I'll stop this for a bit, a couple of weeks, how do I feel? Yeah, like, exactly like I was saying before, like people need to take time and realise that things don't happen straight away. You're not going to have it figured out straight away. You need to go in and invest time into yourself, trial and error, taking little bits out, adding bits in, and just finding what works. So yeah, just sort of made the decision to be the healthiest and the best I can be in whatever I do. But then obviously still have a good time with that as well. You know, now like me and Sarah will go out. So like you were saying about the lady who was vegan, who you had on, Sarah's plant-based as well. So a lot of the stuff that I'm eating now is mainly plant-based. It's really?
Like 80-90%. And I feel boss for it. I haven't lost any weight. I'm gaining weight with training and stuff. Feel like super light, super energetic. But when we go out, I'll still have some, like I might get a bit of fish and enjoy a few glasses of wine or a bottle of wine or something. I'm not teetotal. I haven't cut absolutely everything out that I enjoy and what makes me have a good time. I've just everything's in balance, and I'm obviously putting my health as a priority. But when I want to, I'll have like that chocolate bar or whatever it is that it may be. I'm not like depriving myself of stuff as well. So I think a lot of it does come down to balance as well, for your mental side especially.
Yeah, I suppose it's important, isn't it? Like not being like that, you know, having a beer or whatever, and then just not being that so strict that you can't even begin to enjoy yourself. And one thing I wanted to, you know, because obviously it impacts your lungs so much. Like, was there a worry around this whole COVID thing that potentially something bad could happen because of that? And
I mean, last year when it first came out and no one knew anything about it, it was like this big, massive, scary thing, and everyone was terrified. And don't get me wrong, at first I was a bit like, what's this? Do you know what I mean?
Specifically because of the lung, because of the impact you always see.
A respiratory illness, and that's what it attacks. So at first, like obviously I was off work, shielding and stuff, and then at first I didn't go out the door for like 4 weeks.
Really?
I still had like kettlebells and hours and stuff. I was still training, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't too bad because of the weather, like we were saying before. I had a little chat about it. And I was in the garden every day, going for like the odd walk, but I'd see someone and then cross over, you know what I mean, because they're more past them. But after like 4 weeks, I was just like, nah, this isn't me. This is not it's not how I've got to the point where I am now. I haven't got this far through hiding from stuff. You know, a bad case of flu could write me off, but I just crack on regardless. So after that, I was going out to my bike more, spending more time outside running. And I think that's why I've been fine through all of this, because I don't watch the news. If I want to find something out, I'll find it out myself. Do you know what I mean? I'll go and search for that. But I'm not living anxiously. I'm not taking too much notice into it. That's not to say that I'm being stupid with it.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just not letting it take over everything.
It's one of the smartest answers I've ever heard throughout this COVID, by the way.
You're a prime example of someone who, I imagine, if you did get it, it would probably, like, you know...
Quite serious.
Yeah, it's quite fucking serious. And so for all the people... And there's so many people I could send... I'm sure I might clip this out. I could send to who are, you know, early 30s, completely fit and healthy, you know, scared to, you know, do whatever because of it. And then here you are... You know, all right, you're not being stupid. Again, we have to be careful what we say here. But because we've all got our opinions about it all.
Yeah.
But and here you are, mate, you know, just cracking on. Just, you just can't fucking live your life like that. Like you said, you in 4 weeks in your house, not doing anything, crossing the road when someone came within 20 feet of you. Do you know, it's not healthy.
I was having a little debate last night about it, the COVID, and again, everyone's different opinions on it, but I felt like clipping up that clip of, have you seen J.K. Rowling's commencement speech?
No, I haven't.
Not commencement, like, university speech that they do in America. It's just like a 20-minute speech, and it's the greatest speech ever. I'm telling you, if you're listening now, pause it, go YouTube, J.K. Rowling university speech, and she talks about failure in life. She's not talking about risk, and as we are now, she's talking about failure. And she says, basically, if you don't fail at life, if you don't try anything new, and you get to the end of life and you've never tried nothing new, and you've never failed, well, you've failed at life because you've not lived. And it's the same thing, isn't it? Like you could lock yourself away up and be so scared to try anything, and you've lived your life, but you've not lived your fucking life.
No. Yeah.
And okay, a little bit extreme, it's COVID and stuff, but it's like, it's the same thing, mate. What you're doing, being smart about it, you can't. What's the point in staying safe in your house for fucking 5 years till all this blows over? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. And like you were saying, like people so there's the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, they release stats every week on people who've caught COVID with CF, and they're exactly the same as the general public. So
really?
For like people, like the mortality rate and stuff.
For your age group?
For just everyone who's got CF.
Fucking hell.
And I know a few people who've got CF and they've had it, and some people were pretty bad with it, but they'd seen it out the other side, and other people didn't even know they had it. So it's pretty much the same.
That's encouraging though, isn't it? That the data, and that also there isn't on the CF, which I imagine they probably wouldn't do, that they didn't, because it's not a news organisation, so they wouldn't dramatise and only go out and find the people who've had a bad experience from it, and then you only see that. You see the data, and then you look at the data and you go, yeah, okay, there's the risk.
It's that thing about, like, they're not going to dramatise. I seen a thing on Sky News the other day with like an 80-year-old fella, and the picture was an 80-year-old fella, and the thing was people are now dying at the age of 30. And it was like, well, use a picture of a 30-year-old then. Like, it was an 80-year-old guy, and it was like just to put a spin on it. And you're like, so that's a great shout, not watching the news, by the way.
Is that the one, by the way, the Harvard commencement?
There's like a shorter version, like a little 3-minute clip where it just talks. It's just her doing it. Is that about failure, that bit, that bottom one,
This one, yeah.
Do you
want me to put it on?
Just, it's so good,
Let me just start it again.
On an epic scale. An exceptionally short...
let's just play this.
I had failed on an epic scale. An exceptionally short-lived marriage had imploded, and I was jobless, a lone parent, and as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. The fears that my parents had had for me, and that I had had for myself, had both come to pass. And by every usual standard, I was the biggest failure I knew. I had no idea then how far the tunnel extended, and for a long time, any light at the end of it was a hope rather than a reality. So why do I talk about the benefits of failure? Simply because failure meant a stripping away of the inessential. I stopped pretending to myself that I was anything other than what I was, and began to direct all my energy into finishing the only work that mattered to me. Had I really succeeded at anything else, I might never have found the determination to succeed in the one arena where I believed I truly belonged. I was set free, because my greatest fear had been realised, and I was still alive, and I still had a daughter whom I adored, and I had an old typewriter and a big idea. And so rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. You might never fail on the scale I did, but some failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Failure taught me things about myself that I could have learned no other way. I discovered that I had a strong will, and more discipline than I had suspected. I also found out that I had friends whose value was truly above the price of rubies. The knowledge that you have emerged wiser and stronger from setbacks means that you are, ever after, secure in your ability to survive. You will never truly know yourself or the strength of your relationships until both have been tested by adversity.
Good that.
True that, innit?
Yeah.
Very fun.
Can I just say, it's obviously Harvard University, but I mean, the people who were there getting their degrees look quite old.
They're not the fucking, they're the family, you fucking knob.
Yeah, but look.
Yeah.
It's good that.
It's so true though, and I think, again, a little bit tongue-in-cheek with the COVID thing, but it's like this, I spoke to old people when the pubs briefly opened, and it was kind of like, I'm 80 odd, I'm not fucking sitting in my house all day. It's like you can live cautiously, or like you say, you can be smart and, you know, and not lock yourself away, like, you know.
And just live.
100%.
I think you're doing it the right way, mate. So with regards to your food, obviously that's something you've had to take a massive, take massive note with. With regards to like physical health and stuff like that, is it a case of with your lungs you can't go on, like, I don't know, like short interval training, or is it like, I mean, what do you have to take more of an issue with that, and what you can and can't do?
To be honest, for me personally, no, I do whatever it is that I'm doing, training wise, I'll push myself as much as physically possible, and I want to do as much as I can with that and be the best that I can with that as well. So I've signed up for a triathlon in July.
Really, yeah? Which one?
Windermere.
Nice.
And I'm going to do the duathlon on Derwent Water in April as well, in between.
Oh, so you're fucking cracking on, like...
So, yeah, and like I said before... so something what I say, which is like kind of hard for people to grasp. So my numbers, despite having CF, so some people with CF have got like 20% capacity, do you know what I mean, lung function. I'm sort of in the middle at 65, and it's being pushed up a little bit now from a treatment that I'm on at the minute, which I'll speak about in a bit. And then other people have got like 80-90% capacity, but some of the people who've got 80-90% capacity wouldn't be able to do the intense stuff that I'm able to do. So I say that I'm not really a good example of someone who's got cystic fibrosis going off the numbers, but I'm a good example of what you can be with it regardless. So yeah, like I train 4, 5, 6 times a week sometimes.
Nice.
Like CrossFit functional stuff. In between that I'm running. I've just bought a road bike for the triathlon, so I've been out on that.
And you find afterwards, like you'd like after you've trained, you're fine. You know, there's no like you're not like struggling to breathe or
as far as that, like obviously I can only gauge it off myself and
course,
my condition. So the state I'm in after it, for someone else that might be you totally wrote off, but that's just what I'm used to. But yeah, like I say, it's never I've never sort of held back in any sort of training. You know, I won't leave anything there left to give with whatever I'm doing. And I think that's why I'm so in such a good condition now at the minute.
And the people who are 20%, I mean, do they struggle to even run? Do they struggle to? They're in a really bad way.
Yeah, they're struggling to like breathe and stuff. Like they're on like the transplant list for new lungs and stuff like that. So it don't get me wrong, it can get like serious. You know what I mean? It can get really bad. So with cystic fibrosis, it's like if you have it, then that's it, you've got it. But within that, there's a lot of different genetic mutations. So mine is it's not the most common, but it's up there. And then there's ones which like people might be one of 5 in the country who've got that. So their body and it affects them differently. Right. So we're talking about my digestive system, and I can't break down the fats. Where I can't do that, someone down south with a different genetic mutation than me, their digestive system might be fine, completely okay, but their liver or their kidneys are absolutely wrote off. So it affects people in different ways. But
and once you've got it, can you kind of slip into different ones, or is that you always?
No, that's it. I think, as far as I'm aware anyway, what your genetic mutation, that's you then.
Because I've just pulled up, there was something I saw before, which was gene therapy, which is obviously massive at the moment. And what it says, gene therapy for cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is caused by mutations in the gene responsible for producing the cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductant regulate, what you said, CTFIR protein. Yeah. For this reason, scientists are exploring ways to provide a correct copy of the gene to treat CF.
When's that from? When's that article from?
Let's have a look. I should say at the top.
You constantly looking and kind of at like new stuff, and you're always kind of
sort of, yeah. To be honest though, more the natural route. What new stuff can I start myself on, which is like I spoke about before, which is away from the pharmaceutical, but that leads on nicely actually into the treatment that I mentioned before, which has gave me a little bit of a boost. So what that's talking about there is, that's why I wanted to find out when it was from.
So there's a reference on it, so it's obviously not the date that it was published. There's an online reference, so whatever, something within that was published on 2015. So okay. That's not necessarily published in 2015.
So there's a new drug that's just come out now called Kaftrio, and that's a modulator, that's a gene therapy. So that goes in and tries to correct the faulty gene. And it's a combination of three different drugs, and so it got brought round last year. Sorry, not last year, just gone the year before that. And the government knocked it back because the company Vertex, they wanted £100,000 per patient per year for a course of this medication. So obviously the government said we can't pay that, we can't afford to pay that. It's not good to playing with people's lives at the end of the day, but
why is that big pharma? That's why big pharma gets such a fucking bad name, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's fucking disgusting.
There's just so much money to be made from it, and that's
imagine. I'm going off the subject for a second, but imagine, you've came up with this, and you've like, wow, this can fucking really impact people's lives, and then going, it's $100,000 a year if you want.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with the world, man?
I know, no, I agree. The problem is, it's not the scientists, is it? It's they work under an umbrella, and all the money that's gone in, the probably 20 odd years of money they've pumped in. And I mean, like, when you're just saying that there's something, I don't know how gene therapy works, how that goes into your body and then it finds and then replicates. Correct. I mean, it's just fucking insane.
Yeah, it's like unimaginable the work that goes into it. But like you say, in this case, it was Vertex who wanted the ridiculous amount of money.
And if there's 10,000 people in the UK, it's $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year, 10 times by 10,000. What's that? $1 billion?
Fucking lot of money.
So it came round full circle again last year. It got accepted in the US, by the way, and so they were on it for a full year, and then it came round again here last year, like summertime, and then they finally agreed on a price. They said they dropped the price substantially, so they probably didn't need the £100,000 per patient per year, because the people reckon they got it for like £10,000, maybe £20,000 per patient. Obviously that's not fact, that's just what people are saying, but it said it was a substantial amount. So, but anyway, the results people have seen, like myself included, have just been crazy since starting the drug.
And what does it do, this drug, then?
It just basically purges you of all the shite, what's inside. Like, people are calling it the purge, what they go through. So they start on the tablets, and then within like a few hours it starts moving stuff around inside, and all of the mucus and phlegm, it just brings it all out of you. I didn't have as much like as dramatic as one as that sounds. Mine was sort of just gradual, but I think that was because there wasn't really that much there anyway for me.
Because you keep it on top of yourself, better.
But it just gives people like a whole new lease of life. I follow a couple of people on Instagram. There's a woman in Ireland, and she was one of the first ones to have it. She got on like compassionate grounds because she was really bad. She was on oxygen 24/7, spending like months at a time in hospital, and now she's walking like up the mountains in Ireland with her dad, and it's just like completely turned people's lives around. For me, it hasn't had that much of a dramatic impact, but at the same time, it's just like where I'd get up of a morning, I'd have my nebulizers. So they were just like a mouthpiece where I'd put this liquid solution in, it turns it into a vapour, and I inhale that, and there's like 3 different ones. One breaks it down, one makes me cough to get it up, and then another one that works a little bit deeper. So I'll get up in the morning and I'll do that for like 35 minutes, just sit there on my bed, and that's my little morning routine.
Like coughing up the stuff?
Yeah, like chest clearance. And where I used to be there for like the full half an hour, and I'd be working to try and get her up. Now I get up and there's nothing there. It's just completely ridded of everything. Don't get me wrong, throughout the day there's little bits there what are breaking down and stuff. But yeah, it's just like completely changing people's lives. And my lung function's increased to 74 or 75, And that doesn't sound like a lot going from 65, 67 from when I started, but I haven't been in the 70s since I was like 16, 17. I've sort of just gradually dwindled down a little bit to a point where, like a few years ago, where I've sort of stabilised it. Now it's like give that a push up, and it's going to hopefully carry on gradually.
And what do you take for this drug? What is it?
Just tablets. 2 tablets of a morning and 1 tablet of a night.
And are you going to be on that now for good?
Yeah, I'm going to be on it for good unless they bring out a new one.
Unless they raise the price or something.
I mean, it is a joke, isn't it? The way they went, it's 100 grand. It was like they just
to see if they can get it.
Yeah, and then they went, actually, we'll do it for 20 grand. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Madness. But like we said, there's so much money. Obviously, it's down to the scientists and the people there, but yeah, they're overseen by these big corporations. It's just...
Yeah.
So, mate, that must have been hard then. So before this, that was your morning routine every...
Yeah. Like, I mean, it still is. It's obviously...
just not as
hard.
Yeah.
It's not as taxing. Sometimes, like, some mornings, there'll be some stuff there what I can't get and I can't break down, and I'm really working, and then after it, I'm a bit, like, wiped out. I'll have, like, sore joints, or I'll be aching a little bit throughout the day. But yeah, like, in previous times, I'll be there for a good while trying to get it and get stuff out, because that's the main goal, just to break everything down. That's what's causing the issues, the mucus.
It's mad, isn't it? There's just that mucus that that is that's the whole if you could solve that, then you've solved the whole thing, haven't you? Just that mucus thing that is the fucking problem.
Because like I say, it just surrounds everything. Because it surrounds me pancreas, I'm also cystic fibrosis related diabetic as well. So it's not like type 1 or type 2, it's a bit of a little bit from both. So my pancreas, because it's surrounded by all this shite, by the time when I eat and the pancreas is trying to release the insulin, because it's blocked, it can't get through, when it eventually makes its way out, then I have that spike in my blood sugar. So I'm on a very, very low dose of insulin every morning, but I've been able to, even down to that, I've been able to get that sort of under control myself as well, obviously through my diet and refined carbs, refined sugars and stuff. But little things like apple cider vinegar, that helps stabilise blood sugars as well. I don't know why, but it works. That's like a known thing. There's a herb called berberine, which you want to try. And there was 2 double-blind placebo tests, and in both of them, the berberine was more effective than the insulin was in stabilising the sugars.
Really?
Yeah. So
I've never heard of that. What's it called?
Berberine.
Berberine.
Yeah.
Berberine.
On that shout, do you want me to put that light on?
Yeah, would you mind? Yeah. How are you spelling berberine?
That one there on the far right.
Far right. Yeah. Mate, this is new to me, this. I've never heard of berberine.
Yeah, I only learnt about it myself a few weeks ago, but I want to give it a go.
So it says here that berberine is a quaternary ammonium salt.
Right. See, this is news to me, because I was just looking down a list of like natural herbs what you can take as like a substitute to certain things, and this came up.
So, is a chemical found in several plants, including European barberry. Barberry? I've never heard of barberry. Golden seal, never heard of that. Golden thread, Oregon grape, and tree turmeric. Is most commonly taken by the mouth for diabetes, high level of cholesterol, and all the fats in the blood. That is
when you
interesting.
think about it, mate, I'm fascinated to like in all of that. You think about like the natural world, natural remedies.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if there's a cure for cancer. That is like, it's part of
natural,
like,
somewhere out there. Yeah.
Somewhere out there. It's some bloody, part of a tree that you mix with another tree, and
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's why, mate, the amount of pharmaceutical companies that are buying up land within the Amazon rainforest and stuff like that, so that if something comes out, that they can then have that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, the amount of pharmaceutical sort of drugs that come from the rainforest is insane. Yeah, scientists there all the time. Yeah, it's insane. So there was this whole debate about whether governments in Brazil section off the land, and then if, for example, like when we were talking about the 100 grand a year for that pharmaceutical, is that say that drug came from a certain part of the rainforest in Brazil, or where in South America, is that rather than the pharmaceutical company taking all the profits, is that patent there would then be owned by the South American government, who then offer it to whatever company in the world who wants to then replicate it. Yeah, so it's just to try and stop that issue of.
You are so knowledgeable about so much random shit. Honestly, it's like a fucking genius written and like things that no one fucking knows anything about.
Mad. Yeah, I just remember reading something about it. It was insane. Yeah, the different stuff that comes from the rainforest. Yeah, and obviously what they're doing now is. But the problem is with the rainforest is that you tell a Brazilian farmer who's trying to feed his family to stop cutting it down when we're here comfortably in the West saying, oh yeah, stop cutting it.
Yeah, it's like the exact same arguments, bit of extreme, but in Afghanistan, you know, they're selling heroin, which is used all over the world, and then like the British and American forces are going there saying, don't sell heroin, sell corn instead. And they're like, well, we can make $100 from heroin or a tenner from corn.
Or coca leaves and with cocaine. Yeah, it is insane.
Yeah, there's so many different alternatives out there.
But mate, that berberine new to me. Interesting that I'd never even heard about any of that. I mean, there's also like.
Well, more stuff's getting known about. Again, I mentioned a Feel Supreme, but he's got the lion mane, which is like mushroom extracts and stuff. So I think we must be learning more stuff. Yeah, we must be learning stuff all the time of more different natural remedies and stuff.
I think it's just like an infinite thing, isn't it? Like there's so many. Obviously, like you were saying, the Amazon. There's probably species of plants that we don't even know about in there. And who knows what they're able to do.
I think we're more open about like trying, like CBD. I mean, it's brilliant, and you know, you take it and things like that. But you know, you imagine 26 years. Are you 26? Is it? Yeah, 26 years old. 26 years ago, when imagine people seeing. I mean, there's a cannabis plant on the back of that. On the, it's just like frowned upon, and like I've spoken about this before. But like people who are suffering with PTSD have been taking MDMA, like in microdosing things like that. So we've become so much more open about experimenting with things that potentially are frowned upon, but so I mean it's great for everyone, really, isn't it? That willing to try those.
I think if people are ready to look past like the stigma of it as well, and know what you're conditioned to believe over certain things, like you mentioned, like MDMA for people with PTSD. I think the same's being done with mushrooms and like as in magic mushrooms. Like it's all. I think it's all got if you use right and use correctly, then it's all got a place somewhere.
Yeah, of course it has. And if it's helping you, and I mean, it's fantastic that, regardless of the pharmaceutical companies and things like that, but you taking CBD, you taking this berberine, or
take added help in it,
added help that people can, for free, pretty much, not for free, but it's not $100,000 a year, is it? Do you know what I mean?
Like what? Again, just similar in the sense that we've got kind of, if you like, something wrong with us in the sense. What's it like with like relationships and stuff? Because I can just imagine what you saw about your morning routine. I thought it was interesting. You said you've been with your girlfriend a while. Yeah. But like I always imagine, like, so when I've like dated someone like my girlfriend, and like maybe the first time I've spent the night with her, and then I need a piss in the middle of the night, I'm like just hopping the bog in the middle of the night. Now obviously it's normal for me, but my missus is first time she's been with someone with one leg, and she's like, what the fuck, wakes up and like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm guessing obviously your missus would have known about your condition, but I imagine it's a bit mad for her as well in the morning, and you're sitting there bloody, coughing your lungs up, or you're like, I can't eat this, or you maybe have had it. What's it like for the relationships you've had over the years, or
Fine, to be honest. I think she's more than used to it now. I'll be sitting there and, like you say, coughing my guts up, and then she's just next to me like it's nothing.
Was it difficult at the start or anything? To maybe like be as...
I mean, it was obviously new for her. But even from there, she's been boss, do you know what I mean? She's been fully supportive of whatever it is that I've wanted to do. And I think it's that thing of having a good support bubble around you. I think that goes like miles with stuff like that.
I was going to say, because you mentioned about yourself with your nutrition, would you say that that it's... I'm trying to like word it right, is in the sense of you would have found it more difficult in the sense of even meeting someone as well and explaining it all and stuff as...
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously it's for anyone new that I meet, I won't tell that's not the first words out my mouth. I'm Connor, I've got CF, and it's like, okay. It's like, but at the same time, if someone asks me about it, I'll sit there and I'll talk to them and educate them all day. Do you know what I mean? I've got loads of time for that. But yeah, it must have been a bit mad for her at first. I'm like without having something to eat. Like when we first seen each other, and finish the food and then I'll get like 12 tablets out my pocket and just knock them back.
Yeah.
I can still get funny looks now, but of other people who obviously clueless to what it is that I'm doing. But now she's got like a little like the size of a Vaseline tub just for me tablets to go in her bag. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's just adjusting to everything, and yeah, she's being boss with me. Yeah.
Is there anything that you've ever felt a bit like, not that you should, but I mean like self-conscious about, or anything over the years, whether that's with your girlfriend or friends or family? Is there anything that's maybe people who have CF maybe suffer with, and maybe the likes of being Tom wouldn't understand? Is there anything that...
Yeah, I wouldn't say self-conscious, but I struggle to put on and gain, like I struggle to gain and maintain weight. So when I was like 18, 19, 20, I was going to the gym and nothing was changing really. I'd sort of like get myself down, because when you're that age and you go to the gym, you go to get bigger, do you know what I mean? And it just wasn't happening. But whereas now, obviously I'm not training for like just solely for like an aesthetic look. I'm training to be the fittest and healthiest I can be. And not just that, but I want to be the fittest in the gym regardless. So yeah, like I wouldn't say I was self-conscious, but sometimes it'd maybe get to me a little bit. But then again, after a little bit of like self-realisation, sorting me head, like getting myself to sort my head out, I knew that it's not really going to happen. But then at the same time, talking about that, there's a lad called Ben Mudge, I think he's on Instagram, and he's fucking massive. He's like he looks like Thor. So his Instagram was dressing up as Thor, and he's like proper massive. He had like big beard and long hair, but he'd have like his nebulizers and his tablets. So he'd have like loads of young like mums with young kids who wouldn't want to do the treatments, and then they'd see him and go, "Oh, Thor's doing it, so I'll do it." But yeah, he's fucking ripped.
It's a good point that actually brings me on something. So have you, because I found with me, people always say to me, you know, what keeps you inspired? And I say, for me, my social media is not filled up with the likes of Kim Kardashian and fucking all these fucking idiots. My social media is full of ex-soldiers who I knew through my rehab. So it's very easy for me to stay inspired. And I look at Instagram and I've got a guy with no legs who's swimming across the channel, a guy with one arm who's climbing Everest. Do you have a similar thing where you've got a kind of circle of people who've got CF and you're like, is fucking right, like look at them?
Yeah, definitely. I think that Ben lad, he was one of the first that I came across who was like sort of public with it and putting himself out there and being in like a good shape that he's in. But I'm the same. I had like a clear out of my Instagram like a few years ago of just people who I didn't even know why I was following, just doing it. And now I'm following, like you said, inspirational people, whether that be with CF or like people like yourself or people who are doing just good things despite what it is they're going through. Even down to the fact of like I'm reading Nim's. I'm reading his book at the minute.
Well, yeah, we've got I'll tell you after the podcast because I don't want to give away any of the podcast might rob us as guests, but I've got something lined up along the lines of that.
So I'm halfway through his book at the minute.
He's fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
So he was a Gurkha, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then he made selection for the SBS, which is the Navy's version of the SAS, the Special Boat Service. And he summited the 14 8,000 metre peaks in 6 months.
Just recently, really recently.
The record was like 7 years or something, wasn't it?
7 years or
and he smashed it.
Was that like really recent?
Yeah, he's the one who took that famous photo that was on the paper of everyone lined up at Everest. It was him who took that photo.
Everyone queuing up to go up to the top, to the summit.
Yeah.
Has he just finished Kilimanjaro or something?
He's
dead
just
recently?
No, K2 he done it.
K2,
Never
yeah.
been done in the winter before,
No.
What, K2's never been done in the winter, no?
Do you reckon K2's harder than Everest?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's just like a different animal, isn't he?
I think, mate, I'm so glad to hear you say that, mate, because I say it in my talks all the time. There's a couple of like little cheesy quotes I say, and I always say to kids especially that, you know, if you hang around with 9 idiots, don't be so surprised when you become the 10th.
Yeah.
Now, if you follow 9 idiots on social media, don't be so surprised when you start posting the same shite as them or acting like them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you start following people who are entering triathlons, who are fucking waking up every morning, going through adversity and still smiling, if you're following people who are fucking running every day, doing meditation, you know, have got, you know, putting across healthy, happy lifestyles, you probably end up doing something similar.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because it's what you're feeding your mind is ultimately more important than what you feed in your body, because if you're reading and you're looking at stuff and it's making you think a certain way, you're going to follow that path as well. So if you, like you say, if you're looking at inspirational people or people who are doing like what Nim's done, and you're gonna strive for that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's not to mean you need to go and climb K2, but it might just be a case of you say to your missus or your mate, right, should we go and do Snowdon at the weekend?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just found the photo. That's the photo then, yeah.
Yeah, that's the recent one, yeah.
That's mad, that, isn't it?
So have you found them, mate? Because I know your big goal now is kind of to, you know, say that there's a life beyond this. You know, what have you found, like since, for example, September, since I come about your story, what have you found the reaction's been like? Have you found, because I only know through me and Tom, you know, the podcast, sometimes you get a massive outpouring. It's quite overwhelming sometimes, isn't it, when people, we've had some really deep messages, you know, people like really, really heavy messages of how the pod's helped them, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're a bit like, fucking hell. Like, have you had that kind of, I imagine you have.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, I've always been sort of, I've told like what I'm doing is you know, whatever, inspirational or whatever. But yeah, some of the messages that I've had and the response that I had off that, especially off that first video, like that first video, it got like 14,000 views or something in a few days. And just didn't imagine anything, like no response like that before doing it. But then since then I've had, like I was saying, there's mums who've got kids who've got CF, or people who are messaging me who've got family who've got CF, or mate, or just mates, or people who have got no condition at all. They were just finding themselves having a bit of a shit time. Didn't really know they needed to wear something like that, and it's made a positive impact with them. When you get them messages, it's like, even speaking about it now, it's crazy to think that I've impacted someone's life in a positive way by just being myself and just doing what I'm doing. Because I think if you can do that and help people by doing not much else than what you used to, then I don't think you can get any better than that, really.
No, 100%.
Being the best version of you, or trying to be the best version of you, and putting in 100% effort to being you, has a far greater impact than any little cheesy motivational quote.
Definitely.
You know, just by people seeing you being the best you can be, has a far greater impact on them than fucking anything else. And by people seeing you doing that, mate, again, even something as simple as the effort that you have to go through for your meals, as in the meal prep, what you're eating, and then the tablets after it.
Yeah.
And then there's people moaning, oh, God, you know, I shouldn't have had that Mackey's. Well, yeah, fucking hell, you probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sometimes inspiration comes in different forms, doesn't it? It can be like guilt inspiration, can't it? Where you're like, fucking hell, that Connor has to fucking do that. God, and I've just fucking ordered the takeaway there. Right, okay, that's it, I'm cancelling it.
That's what I thought before when you were saying about those 12, I was like, after every, I know it sounded like for you it's a piece of piss, you just like that, but just to even, I think, because it's not a case of it's not the actual act of taking 12 tablets, it's the fact that it reminds you each time afterwards, that even before a meal, it's like, I've got CF.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I imagine that's probably more of a case. The 12 tablets is...
I don't think you must. No, I don't. Surely you don't. I only you interjected then, because I thought every time I put my leg on, I don't think, fucking hell, I'm an amputee.
Yeah, maybe not, but from an outsider, that's what I would think.
I don't know, do you think that?
I don't. Not really, no, because I don't think it's something that I need reminding of, really. Like, it is what it is, and I think that's a good outlook as well. While we're on that, just to have it is what it is. I think that's the best saying anyone could ever have. But yeah,
I think that's such a scouse saying, I think, as well, isn't it? It is what it is, isn't it, lads? You know what I mean?
I think, to be honest, like the Michael Shields podcast, that was probably my favourite one I've listened to. What you
he used to, he's like, no, it is what it is, lad.
A prime example of.
It is what it
obviously, is. Like, not comparing like what each other have been through and stuff, but I think that podcast sat so well with me just because of his outlook and like his attitude to everything, and he stands for obviously stands for a lot of stuff what I stand for, like, personally. But yeah, going back to that, I don't think it sort of reminds me, because I'm always aware that what it is, but that's understandable for anyone looking outside in.
Yeah, of course,
to maybe think that's what it is.
Yeah, I just thought that's it's just a funny sort of thing, and that for you, that and every single time. But then I don't have, I've got two legs, I haven't got one leg, so that I just think you'd always think that it just remind, if you think...
Probably does some days, maybe it does, if I'm feeling sorry for myself, maybe. But you know what else I love though, mate, as well? And I don't know how you both feel about this as well, but I feel like this is different because we're talking about your life in an inspirational way, and it's great, and I love all this kind of chat and stuff and these type of podcasts. But I do feel in society in general, we are going so too far, a little kind of, you know, cuddly, touchy-feely, or a little bit, let's talk about it, and it's great to talk about things, and I don't mean this type of talk, I mean like, you know, I think sometimes you have just got to go, it is what it is, you got to crack on, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And I think that's getting lost a little bit in society now, which is a little bit, you're not allowed really to use the phrase, got to man up anymore. It's like, let's not man up, let's sit down, let's hold hands and let's hug it out and let's talk about it. And yeah, that sometimes can help and it can sometimes work, but I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, your attitude's a bit more like, well, fucking hell, I've got to do what I've got to do. It
is what it is. Yeah. Do you mean in the sense that, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but you know, like when you watch the X Factor or whatever, say you went on the X Factor, the producers would probably say, so go on, tell me about your thing, and you'd say, well, I've got CF, and they go, well, how did that make you feel when you were a kid? And they'd run with that story that Connor, you know, in the, you know, you can imagine, you can see this, the struggle, you can see all that storyline.
But that's always been, like, if, for example, like you say, Saturday Night TV, I feel like it's seeping into, like, everyday life a little bit now. And every time I look on Instagram now, there's something, like, men especially are always being encouraged to open up more, which again is great. I love that. But I just feel it's going too far that way a little bit.
As in, like, you can't just go, like, it is what it is. Like,
well, yeah, we can sit there and we can have almost like a podcast to chat. And we know I've got one leg, we know you've got CF, and it's fucking shit. But it's like, fucking hell, yeah, it's shit. But you know what, lad? Fucking hell, let's crack on, eh? Let's fucking get on with it. And I think that's getting lost. It's gone a bit more than, right, should we sit down and let's talk about what we can do about it? Yeah, it's like, there's fucking nothing you can do about it. Just fucking gotta get on with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But I feel like you can't, like, I don't know.
It comes across the wrong way. I know what you're trying to say. I know exactly
like
what you're trying to say.
We're going a bit too softy, a little bit too, fucking, you know.
I know exactly, but there's a fine line. I know exactly what
there's just got to be a bit more. Yeah. What I'm trying, backhand to compliment, what I'm trying to say is, I like your attitude in the sense of, it's not like feeling sorry for yourself. We need to hug it out. We need to bring it up every 2 minutes. It's like, look, listen, this is me. I am what I am. I've got what it is. I want to try and show people that it's not fucking death sentence. It's me living my life, and I can live it in this way, and I can actually live a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, people like things what I'm doing, and I've noticed it through Instagram and a few little accounts like popping up as well, which, like, I'm not saying that was because of me that it's happened, but like people with cystic fibrosis, I've noticed a few more people wanting to do the same. So I think by people like sharing stories like that or whatever it may be, then it sort of opens people's eyes to that, like I was saying before, going through stuff, and it sort of brings to light littler issues and smaller issues. You know, people deal with things in different ways, and things affect people differently, and whatever their way of dealing with that stuff is, then that's obviously down to them ultimately. But if seeing people like myself or like others and how they deal with it can maybe open their eyes a little bit, and not to get such a cob on because someone went out of X Factor.
That's why it's important, your story. That's why I asked you about, like, your girlfriend in the morning, because I bet there's someone out there maybe who will listen to this who's got CF, and maybe, I don't know, they've dating someone or something and they're a bit, not embarrassed, but a bit self-conscious maybe about the morning routine.
Yeah. People are self-conscious without CF, like with it, like you'd be like completely
seeing them with the lights on naked or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I think that's why what you do, mate, sharing the different aspects of your life, I think it's so important, because it's fascinating to me to learn what you're going through, but especially if someone's got it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like my overall message is, like, don't. It's not to, like I was saying before again, I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but not to just see what I'm doing and try and live exactly as I am. It's more of just maybe take notice of my outlook and how I'm trying to go about things, and you know, I'm not just settling, I've got CF, so I'll just live with that and wait till the day comes that I go, and that's going to be the reason for it. You know, why not live your life to the absolute, like, it sounds a little bit cheesy and cliche, but try and just cram as much stuff as you possibly can in. You know, still go out and enjoy yourself, but while you are enjoying yourself, you can still be healthy and and strong and actually want to look after yourself. You know, people say, I'm only here once, so I'm gonna, you know, go out as much as I can, drink as much as I can, take as much, whatever it is, whatever they choose to do. But you can still have a good time and not have to go down that. You can still look after yourself and have yourself in the best condition possible and still have a good time. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think the model of that was just fucking crack on, man.
It is one of them, innit? It is what it is.
It is what it is. Mate, it's great, mate. I've loved learning. Anything else you want to kind of touch upon that you think we've maybe missed out on? Or?
Sticking on the mountain side of it, I done...
Gonna start doing some crazy challenges or something that way, or what?
We went to Morocco and summited Mount Subcal.
Oh, nice.
In 2019, the end of the year.
How high is that?
That's 4,167 metres. So it's the highest, it's not the highest it's the highest in North Africa.
Kilimanjaro, obviously, yeah.
But that's next on my list.
Did you get altitude sickness?
No, not on me. I took my inhaler with me, but that didn't come out my bag once.
Mate, I know people who get altitude at like 3,500.
Yeah. It was obviously when I was talking to the hospital and telling them about it, they were like, "Are you really sure?"
I was going to say, yeah.
I was like, yeah, why not? Just have a go and see where we get. But
well, yeah, I had a funny story on that, mate, before you, because I want to hear more about it. But just to show you again about how much you're smashing it compared to some people, it's quite funny. We went to South America to do Mount Aconcagua. It's the highest in South America. It's just short of 7,000 metres. You're out there for about a month. There's all ex-military lads, all Marines, paras and Special Forces lads going to do this. And we had a civvy cameraman. And I think he felt a bit like inept, and he was like from Wales, and he was running up hills in Wales every day. And when we met up for team training, he'd be like, "Oh, Andy, I've been doing this, I've been doing that." And I was a bit lackadaisy because climbing when you're on a hill, it's all in your head. It's just fucking one foot in front of the other, and that's it. So I was keeping myself in shape, but I wasn't running up Snowdon every day. Do you know what I mean? Like he was. Anyway, we get out to South America. He gets altitude at about 3,500 metres, gets pulled off the hill, and we have to carry all his camera kit
to the top.
To the top. We didn't make it. We were 200 metres short because of bad weather. So we got to like 6,700 metres, fucking without him, the cameraman.
So you had the whole documentation?
No, we had to fucking document it ourselves, yeah.
Home video.
Yeah. Like some dodgy fucking porno thing that we had. Like, but yeah, so he was fit as and training like mad.
Yeah.
I mean, altitude sickness affects everyone, but I would have assumed that maybe you would have been more affected by it. But
yeah, well, obviously, like reduced lung capacity and high altitude
don't mix.
Naturally don't mix. So I think that's why the hospital would have been.
What height was that mountain in? Sorry.
6,900 metres.
6,900. Fuck me, that's high, isn't it?
High.
What's Everest?
8.
Just short of 9, isn't it? Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Like
so it's only 2 kilometres short of.
Yeah. Got loads of funny stories about the hill. Yeah. Go on, sorry, carry on with your one.
Sorry.
Man just sounds like Snowdon now compared to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe we'll get up a mountain together. We should do Snowdon in the summer or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that can be Tom's Everest in Snowdon. We can just talk about Argentina, you can talk about Morocco, and Tom can talk about Wales. What was it like then doing that? Was that your first mountain? And had you trained going up Snowdon and stuff?
Yeah, we trained, but you can't train for altitude, can you? So we were just like worked our way around like around North Wales, around the lakes, which we do anyway. We love like a typical Scouse fresh Sundays, you know what I mean?
It's the Scousest place you can be, isn't it? A bank holiday, Snowdon. Fuck me.
Yeah. So yeah, we do it all the time anyway. So we had the conversation of whether to go away somewhere and do one. And then my mate Kyle, he found Subcal, and then it made sense sort of to do it for charity, obviously a cystic fibrosis one. And then there's a charity called Friends of CF, it's called Leah's Friends of CF now, and they're just a small family run charity, and they give money directly to families. So they'll go and give like a couple of £100 to kids to buy some new toys or go away for the weekend. And I think that made sense to do something like that, because I think with big charities, the money sort of gets lost. You know, for all the good work that they do, that's not taking it away from them. You can't see exactly where it's going. Whereas there's like a little personal touch to it.
100%, yeah.
And I'd been nominated for the charity myself as well. So I got to know like the family and stuff that run it. So it made sense to go with them, and yeah, we raised just over £4,000. We set the target of £1,000, like 250 quid each, and that was gone within like a couple of days.
Jesus.
So we managed to break like £4,000. And then it took 3 days up and down, but it was just like the best experience I've ever had. We absolutely blitzed it. Did
you struggle? Did you on it?
No,
or?
No, didn't feel any more exerted than you do with the likes of Snowdon. No.
For any Scousers listening, you're looking at like essentially around 4 times Snowdon, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, like it was so we got picked up in the morning in Marrakesh, took to a little village called Imlil at the foot of the mountain. Met our 2 guides, Yusuf and Mohammed. And Yusuf, he was the same age as us. He was like 24 or 25. And he was the 4th fastest person from Imlil to the summit and back, and he'd done it in like 4 hours 50 odd minutes. He was just like a machine, because he was from Imlil, so he grew up running the mountains and stuff. And then Mohammed, he was the opposite end of the scale. He was like touching 60, but just like a mountain goat, you know what I mean? Straight
just
up.
Kept going.
Yeah.
It's amazing meeting people like that, isn't it?
But yeah, it took 3 days, like a 6 or 7 hour walk on the first day to get to like the refuge, like the base camp. Rested for the night, like acclimatised, and then done the summit push the next morning, and then back down again. That was
summit days, you always wake up super early, don't you?
Yeah. Well, they wanted to do it at 4 o'clock in the morning, but it was quite busy, so we waited until, because you get up there for sunrise then, but we waited until 7 till it quietened down a bit. But yeah, it was boss. I advised, like everyone who I speak to, I advised to do it, just because like the experience of it, even if it's not for charity, just the experience of it. Yeah, it was boss, and then we had a few days in Marrakesh after it as well, so it was like a little holiday.
That's quality,
isn't it? Me and 3 of my best mates who I've grown up with, so it was nice.
Boss, that isn't it?
Yeah.
Something special about the mountain, isn't it? As well, like just you can't describe it. It's just when you have those peaceful, tranquil moments when you're halfway up a mountain or at the top, even it's just amazing. And you're at one with the hill.
Yeah.
Have you done Kilimanjaro?
No,
that's next on my list, I think.
That'd be cool to do.
Because I've been reading Nimsa's book. It's had me thinking, so I either want to do Kilimanjaro or Mont Blanc. Either one of them.
So I've got a funny story, so I put you in touch with a guy after this we'll speak, but I've got a guy who lives in Chamonix, and to do Mont Blanc you go to Chamonix, and it's on the border. You can do the Gran Paradiso, which is the highest in Italy, and then you do Mont Blanc. So I goes there to do Mont Blanc, but as to make sure you've got what it takes to do Mont Blanc, the kind of practice run is you climb the Gran Paradiso, which is the highest in Italy.
Yeah.
So I climbed the Gran Paradiso with this. I went out there on my own and got put with a group of Irish. They were great. They were a great laugh. I flew up there, fucking fast in there. All of them, it was great. I just had my own guide because again I had one leg. They were like, "We'll just see what you like." And me and the guide were up there first. It was great. Loved it. And then on my way down, fucking, I was about a mile away from the bottom. I like lifted my leg over a boulder, my prosthetic leg, and it like caught on a rock, this big boulder, and like jolted and broke the prosthetic leg. So I walked down like the last mile of this fucking mountain with my leg falling off.
With a broken leg.
With a broken prosthetic leg. And then got to the bottom, and the leg was, well, it was fucked, but I'd managed to like, it was thankfully flattening out a bit. But I was meant to be climbing Mont Blanc like the next day. Yeah. And they were like, "Andy, mate, fucking, it's for safety, we cannot let you up on that mountain." I was like, "It'll be fine." They were like, "No, it's fucking anyway. Not." Like, and I was ringing up like my prosthetic centre, and they were like, "You're in the middle of Chamonix on a Sunday afternoon. What are we meant to do?" And so I didn't get to do Mont Blanc. But then a year later, I done Aconcagua, which is the highest in South America. It's in Argentina. That's the coldest I have ever been in my life. Yeah, I nearly lost my little finger. Got frost nip. That's the one before frostbite. Yeah. Mate, we were going up there on summit day it was, and so we got up at like 3 a.m. It's fucking so fucking cold, mate. Right, I'm putting my prosthetic leg on, and that my stump is freezing, and like, oh, you got layers and layers and layers on.
You put a sock over your stump then?
It's like a liner, and then a couple of socks, yeah. I've got these boots on that are designed for over 6,000 metres. Oh mate, Baltic, it is, I can't, sorry to keep swearing, it's fucking freezing, like so cold. Anyway, we get up there and we're like 400 metres from the summit. You can get something called summit fever, don't know if you've heard of it, but it's like when, if you can see the summit and you think it's only there, you've got to keep on going. But that's probably like 3 or 4 hours away. And if the weather's coming in, it can be obviously really dangerous. But in your head, you're thinking, oh, it's only there. And that's how people die in the mountain. You get summit fever, thinking that it's only there, you know. Anyway, we get up there. and I was lagging behind a bit. We split up into 2 groups. There was, I think, 3 of us who were not struggling, but not going as fast, and the first 4 were going a little bit quicker. And we stopped at this little hut, and mate, the wind is just going. It is freezing, and got to a point I was like, I'm not even asked about the mountain anymore. I'm just gone like a zombie. Do you know what I mean? And I'm looking up at the guys who were only about 15 minutes ahead of us, and they started turning round and come down. And apparently, once you got to the ridge that they were on, it was quite out in the open, and the wind was even worse. And the mountain guide at the time, he'd done Everest like 7 times. This like legend called Harry. He just said, "Nah, I'm calling it a day. It's too dangerous." He said, "The mountain will be here, next year." He said, "I'm pulling us off the mountain. It's just too bad." So they come down and they were like, "Lads, it's been canned." And they're all like, "Oh, gutted." I was like, "Yeah, gutted there, lads, yeah." And we get down to like base camp 3, and Woody, this guy from New Zealand, he went, "Right, lads, just check each other off. Make sure, your ears and your nose and your extremities are all right." And I was like, "Yeah, I feel all right." Took my gloves off and put my hands together, like clapped my hands, right? And my little finger was like a rock. I went, "Whoa, what the fuck was that?" And I started tapping my little finger, and it was solid. I went, "Whoa, Woody, what's going on with my finger?" And he looked, he went, "Oh, fucking hell, come here." And then he got a canoe bag, filled it up with boiling water, and then I had to hold this bag the rest of the way down. And then as we got down the next couple of days, like the tip of my finger just went black. And like
just
might
no
have
blood
lost
to
like
it or anything?
yeah, just so cold, and I might have lost like a tiny bit of it. But he thought I might lose the whole tip at one point.
Really, yeah.
Oh, I was so fucking cold. Cold as I've ever been in my life. Yeah.
Was it like proper painful?
No, it wasn't painful as at the start. No, it just went like just solid. You could like flick it and couldn't even feel it.
That's mad, isn't it?
It was weird, yeah. And then it hurt the next few days when it started like blackening and stuff and all that. Like the nail fell off and stuff. But apart from that, like what an experience! Like the mountain was just. I had this one moment, and I'm sure you'll have had them yourself. And I was walking down this canyon on a mule, and I had this guy next to me, this American Navy SEAL, who, by the way, he's just passed away. Actually, fucking like literally 2 weeks ago, he passed away. His story: he'd lost his leg. Right, he was in Iraq, fell out of a helicopter, and the helicopter was shot down. And as the helicopter was falling, a rotor blade fucking chopped his fucking leg off.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
he survived, and he's like this cool fucking ninja. So he's on this mule next to me, and then my other mate in the padders has lost a leg, who's on like GB cycling team, and 3 of us are just on this fucking mule in this canyon, and I was like, this is cool as fuck. Yeah. So that's so many amazing memories like that, and that's what the mountain can do. Like you say, with your mates, it doesn't matter where you are, your mates on the mountain.
Yeah,
there's something special. Like,
mate, that's quality.
We'll definitely have to do a mountain together, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
How can people find you and stuff then, and keep on learning about your story?
Instagram. So it's
people are going to be messaging you now saying, "Get up this mountain, come here, come and do this."
Yeah. Instagram is _ Connor Smith, and then the Smith's got 2 H's on. So all me posting videos and little health tips will be on there if you want to take anything.
What were the things you were doing on Instagram with your sustainability? I saw you do little posts about
so I've just got like loads of little ideas of posts, what I want to get out there, what I think might be able to help people. And I started off making them all videos, but I think that could get like quite tedious over time. And obviously people might not always have 5, 6, 7 minutes to sit and listen. So I think certain ones I'm going to like condense down and just make them easy to read, like slides on it. And then I might go in, like last night I put a video on, just going a little bit deeper into it, into some points that I touched on it. So I've just got like these little ideas which I'm playing with at the minute. And then whether that leads to bigger and better things, whether it's my own podcast or different ways of doing it, I don't know. I'm just going
to do your own podcast, mate.
Yeah, see where it goes.
I would, mate. Yeah, listen, mate. I've learned a lot, mate.
Mate, I was just going to say, if people listened at the start, I said that I thought CF, cystic fibrosis, like 70-year-olds, and obviously...
Yeah, what the fuck are you on about?
Do you mean fibromyalgia? Is that where you get the fibro from?
Yeah, that would have been it.
Yeah.
That's a good clue.
No.
I didn't know what you mean. Though, was in you hear these things, and you kind of... MS was the one I think of.
MS you associate kind of, with...
Yeah, you don't really know what...
Mate, you look, good-looking lad, you look fit as anything, and you don't expect to see, when you throw out these words, it's like you throw out terminal cancer, or you throw out, all these different, like, things, and because I'm not involved in it and I don't know anything about it, and you know, I don't
That's
look
it. If it
into
doesn't
it.
affect you directly, then you're not gonna
Yeah,
really
yeah,
know,
of
are
course.
you? So
Yeah.
that's why, again, the great thing is about a podcast is you get to learn so much. So
Yeah.
I've learned about the gene therapy, learned about berberine. I'm looking at
Berberine,
berberine as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
turmeric, I think that's the big one as well. Yeah,
turmeric.
Turmeric, turmeric.
That'd be cool.
But mate, we'll post all your links on the thing about you, how to follow you, but you keep us updated maybe what you're doing and stuff, and any challenges, maybe we'll get you back on, and you can big up your next triathlon or your next mountain and stuff, mate. But Conor, mate, it's been a pleasure to speak to someone who's had adversity since they were born, and yet sitting here smiling with that kind of what I'd call commando humour, and it's just fucking smashing life, mate.
No,
so
likewise, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you, mate.
Nice one.
Cheers, pal.